Hey, good morning. It's Patricia Murphy. It's Wednesday. This is Seattle Now. Afghan refugees are headed to the Seattle region, and some Vietnamese Americans and their children are determined to help them. In a minute, we'll hear from Thanh and Jefferey, whose parents fled South Vietnam for America. But first, let's get you caught up. Pack your mask and proof of vaccination if you've got tickets to any major sporting events around town over the next couple of weeks. Yesterday, the Seahawks, Huskies, and Sounders all announced new vax-only policies for fans over age 12. The Kraken will also require vaccines when they start playing next month, and the Mariners say they'll require vaccines starting with any postseason games. That's if they make the postseason. In more COVID news, King County says it's working on a vaccine verification system similar to the ones already up and running in New York and San Francisco. The county says it's exploring the idea for some non-essential businesses where people are crowded together for a long period of time. You know, like music venues, bars, and restaurants. The county says it's still figuring out which businesses would be included. And finally, in yet more COVID news, state health officials are reminding you not to take the antiparasitic drug ivermectin to treat or prevent COVID-19, citing its potentially dangerous side effects. Despite those warnings, the CDC reports a spike in prescriptions for the drug nationwide. Seattle Times reports that calls about ivermectin to the Washington Poison Center have tripled since last year. Center's medical director tells the Times that increase is likely due to misinformation. The U.S. war in Afghanistan is over, but for many Afghans who helped America over the past 20 years, it's the beginning of a new chapter. Interpreters, politicians, and soldiers who helped the U.S. fight the Taliban are in danger, and many are still trying to flee the country. The situation is something Thanh and Jefferey can understand. They're both children of parents who fled Vietnam after the fall of Saigon and came to the United States to start a new life. Now they're determined to help Afghans in a similar situation. They're both co-founders and organizers of Viets for Afghans. Hey, Thanh. Hey, Jefferey. Really good to talk to you. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
So the plan to end the war in Afghanistan has been on the books for months. Did either of you imagine that the U.S. exit would go this way?
No. I have a distinct memory of waking up, I think it was Sunday morning, a couple weekends ago, and looking at my phone and reading the headlines coming out of Afghanistan and somehow feeling shocked that it was happening so fast. And then turning on the news and seeing the video was really alarming and surprisingly triggering and emotional for me, just because it didn't even bring back, I wasn't born in 1975. I think it was this feeling that, my goodness, this is what it was like for our parents. I really felt like a rush of pain, not just for myself, but it was compassion and empathy for what our older generation went through.
How about you, Jefferey?
Yeah, I was really disheartened to see that we weren't prepared for it. And it does harken back, to the stories that my family and my parents and grandparents would tell about their escape in 1975 as the North Vietnamese advanced on Saigon. And it feels like such an eerily similar situation. The wars were so different, but the refugee crises felt so much the same. And the feeling of loss of country, even though I wasn't born in Vietnam, like Thanh said, I think that hangs over a lot of the generations that came to follow. That feeling of loss is really hard to recover from, and it passes on through the generations.
And the videos, of course, of the families trying to get out at the Kabul airport were heart-wrenching. And to help, Thanh, you and Jefferey co-founded this organization, Viets for Afghans. Tell me what you're doing.
So we are really a loose coalition. We're not a nonprofit. We are a coalition of Vietnamese American friends who feel the need to step up and do something. And so we knew that we wanted to address the immediate need, which was to help those who are coming, those refugees from Afghanistan who are on their way. So initially, because of Washington State's incredible history, being the first state with a, then Republican governor, Governor Evans invited Vietnamese refugees who were at Camp Pendleton at the time, invited Vietnamese people to resettle in Washington State and to rebuild their lives here. And Jefferey's family was among those who heard that call and moved up here to Washington State in 1975. And so I think we felt that the state has an incredible legacy of helping to resettle Southeast Asian refugees. Perhaps we could do something similar. And because 1975 is such a seminal year for the Vietnamese American experience, perhaps we could play off of that. And so our initial goal was, let's try to get 75 Vietnamese families to host or sponsor 75 Afghan refugee families.
How's that going?
It has gone. We've been amazed by the interest. We've had, in the last couple of weeks, we have had more than 80 people who have contacted us interested in wanting to help to host or to support refugees in some way with emergency shelter or housing. And so that's incredible. But we've also learned in this process, and we want to make this super clear, is that it also takes time and there is safety measures in place and a whole process. And so we wanted to get people to become hosts. And, we have had a good number. We know at least 80 people have expressed interest in hosting or sponsoring. And out of that, we are not sure, but we know that a good number of the 80 are actually going through the process of applying to become hosts or to support refugees in some way. So,
were you surprised by that response? How fast did those families come forward to offer their help?
Oh, like right away. We started our Facebook page. We released it on in the middle of the night on Thursday. So really it was like Friday on the 20th of August. People started learning about us. And by the end of the weekend, we had more than 20, people who had responded. And I think interest has continued to grow from there. And as have we've grown a lot. It feels like our focus is not so much on trying to reach, a certain number. Our focus is on trying to mobilize people and to connect people with real opportunities to make a difference and to help. And so that has meant for us trying to very quickly get started and understand how the resettlement process works. How has it changed, since the Vietnamese experience in 1975? We've also learned that there's a bottleneck right now. There are families coming. Some days there's a lot of people. Other days there's no one. So we're trying to adapt and shift and make sure that we're meeting whatever the greatest needs are. But that really is dependent on the news cycle and whatever information, we're able to get out of the government as well, because so much of this, it's some of the baseline information that we need is the United States. How many refugees are we allowing in? Right now, there's a cap on how many refugees the United States is willing to allow in. And so for us, it's been we've got to monitor not just what's happening locally here and not just what the local agencies are saying, but what is happening outside of Washington State and at a much, higher level.
I would add that, I think our community knows inherently that the refugee crisis is not going to be over after these initial 2 weeks. This initial month, once it's out of the news cycle, we know it's not going to be over just because it's out of the news. And we know that there's going to be waves of refugees who try to escape the country. We're still getting emails from folks inside Afghanistan asking for help, just because they saw our project. And, there's amazing organizations out there doing the real work of getting folks out. But even our little project is getting messages from folks inside. And so we know that, more waves of refugees are going to be coming. And I really do think that if there's a way for our country to live up to its promise, it's to, at the very minimum, treat the Afghan refugees the same way that a lot of refugees from Southeast Asia got treated.
Thanh, Thanh, Jefferey, really good to talk to you. Obviously, the work is only beginning for the agencies trying to aid Afghan refugees. Great to talk to you. Thanks for your work. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If you want to help, you can get in touch with Thanh and Jefferey at Viets for Afghans. That's VIETS, the number 4 Afghans. Very easy for you to get in touch and learn how to get involved. We'll have links in the show notes for today's episode. Thanks for listening to Seattle Now, and thanks to the fabulous Paige Browning for filling in while I was on vacation. You can follow us on Instagram. There's almost 500 of you out there now. Caroline Chamberlain Gomez produced today's show. Our production team is Clare McGrane, Diana Opong, Jenny Cecil Moore, and Jason Pagano. Matt Jorgensen does our theme music. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you tomorrow.